Chapter 1 CE5 Pre-Planning. When we meet, a startled response is normal. Please see if you can put aside your fears and look us in the eye. Watch our body language. Feel your feelings. Listen to the thoughts in your head. You're not making them up if they don't sound like you, because many of us are trained to communicate with Earth humans, and when you respond, then interaction can begin. Attendee from Pontel, Sandia Station, New Mexico, USA. There are a lot of details to consider before you firmly decide that you are going to host your own close encounter of the fifth kind or CE5 event. Let's get started with all the things you need to think about. Invite who you know. First, if you or any of your fellow CE5 party participants have experienced previous telepathic interactions and participants know the nation or the specific individual they met or worked with, inviting that individual or group is a good idea. For instance, if one of your attendees has previous experiences with the Ponti from Zeta Reticuli 2, invite that nation. If you are trying to reconnect with the nearby Sasquatch clan, send your telepathic message into the heart of their forest. More about why we include the Big Brother Sasquatch nations in this book later. If it was visitors from one of the Pleiadian worlds, invite them. Because telepathic connections were likely to have been established during that previous meeting, inviting a star nation that one of your participants has already met or interacted with will bring greater success. Of course, inviting just anybody who happens to be flying by or telepathically listening on the night of an event can sometimes work, but you should not rely on this method for the best success. The exact location, time, and place. Try to decide exactly when and where your event will be, several weeks or even months in advance, especially if you need to plan for nice weather. When you invite star nations, don't just tell them the name of your town or invite them to meet you, quote, at the park, unquote. Instead, be as specific as you can. If attendees have a chance to look at the satellite perspective of your event location on Google Earth, they can see exactly how the property will look from the air. This will likely be your visiting nation's first bird's eye view as well. We suggest all attendees know both the exact street address and the GPS global positioning system of the location in as much in advance as possible. Your Star Nation visitors all have busy lives too, and everyone appreciates a little planning ahead regarding consideration of both their schedule as well as yours. Sending your telepathic invitation. As soon as your CE5 event attendees know the date, place, time, and star nations you are inviting, we suggest you all telepathically send up a personal invitation to that nation every day in some fashion, beginning 2 weeks prior. If you have 10 attendees at your event, and you all know a couple of weeks in advance, all 10 of you, or as many as possible, need to telepathically send out a detailed, wonderfully imaginative, joyful invitation every day until the event is held. You want the ET visitors you are inviting to have time to put your gathering on their schedules. If during this stage many of the Earth humans who send out their telepathic invitation get any kind of an RSVP response back from a star nation before you gather, share it with the whole group so that everyone knows. Quite a number of visitors to Earth are nocturnal. Because of this, CE5 organizers need to let attendees know if event hours will include staying up very late or even all night. Organizers will need to consider what to have participants bring and or what accommodation is available on site for them. Overnight or not. Some groups choose to host their events completely outdoors at a facility where cabins and camping are available, and create a wonderful central bonfire that acts as a beacon that can be seen from the air. Others select a private home and keep their events smaller and more personal, preferring to view the night sky from a backyard or even large open garage door. Some events are all night or all weekend long, while others gather just for the evening and stop at midnight or 2 a.m. You determine which type of event works best for your group. Private homes and local parks. If you are hosting a smaller event in a private home, make sure you have enough parking. If you are planning on hosting your CE5 party outdoors at a local park, be aware of what time the park closes. Many facilities shut their doors to the public at 10 p.m., and some even lock their gates. Get permission. If you are hosting your event on private land, be sure to have a written, signed, and dated permission slip from the landowner. Never ever try to conceal the fact that you are hosting an event designed to invite ET to come land on their property. Always be honest and upfront. Do you need liability insurance for your event? Can you even get it? If you ask an insurance agent, they may laugh at your question and then offer you an event policy that covers everything from personal injury to the zombie apocalypse. No haunted locations. We do not recommend holding your CE5 event at a haunted location or one with a potent emotional history like an old war battlefield or near a cemetery. The emotional residual energy of the area and or the local ghostly residents would be likely to overwhelm the telepathic beginners in your group, and you may end up with an event full of sobbing people. Save the quote ghostbusting unquote for another time and place. Experts among you. For large events, we designate a medical emergency person and a separate person to help handle any emotional crisis issues that may arise. We also recommend that you have someone at your event or on your staff who is extremely experienced with the paranormal so that when those more advanced questions arise, you and your guests have an expert in your midst. Meals versus snacks. Is your event going to be held long enough that you need to consider meals or just have participants bring snacks to share? Will you need breakfast in the morning? Will you provide hot water to your coffee all night long? Who will make it, care for the brewing, and take care of the cleanup? Food safety. No matter where you hold your event, or how many people are coming, you will have a few health and safety considerations to deal with. If you are not hosting your get-together in a private home with a proper kitchen and a refrigerator, how will you handle food preparation and storage? Be mindful if attendees bring dishes that spoil quickly. We've all had that one experience we remember from potluck dinners. If your gathering is more than half a dozen people, we recommend you assign volunteers to help with food cleanup, serving, and setup, serving, and cleanup. What will event organizers need? Because organizers of any CE5 event are responsible for the physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being of all participants, there are quite a few things to consider bringing to your get-together. Large groups of 30 or more meeting at a rural location have different needs than smaller gatherings of half a dozen people camping out in someone's backyard. Strictly outdoor events will require you to bring more things from home than groups who gather at someone's house. You may or may not need all the things we suggest, but if it's safety related in any way, we encourage you to think about it seriously. For the complete list of the things that you really need to consider, no matter what size gathering you host, see Appendix 1. Electronics, anyone? Can you bring cameras and recording equipment? Your group gets to decide whether they will be allowed or not. However, don't forget that it is not unusual for electronics to malfunction or have their batteries suddenly drained, usually at precisely the time you need to get the shot. Plan accordingly. Will there be a way for participants to charge cell phones? If not, make sure your attendees are aware of this fact. You may wish to consider using red light bulbs for ambient indoor or outdoor lighting. If you can operate and move around in a red light environment, you won't ruin your night vision. In my personal life, I have found having any experience from behind the lens of a camera often impedes on the experience itself. Too often, many people concentrate on getting, quote, the perfect shot, unquote, or, quote, capturing the moment, unquote. Then they miss the moment itself. And from an Earth visitor's point of view, I'm sure a flashbulb in the face, the moment I arrived on Earth, would be as annoying as my driver license photo being taken without warning. Karen, Florida, USA. Her point is well made. Don't miss the live action because you are looking at the world through the lens of a camera. However, in our investigations across the paranormal spectrum, we know there is a positive flip side to camera usage at CE5 events. There are times when your camera or audio equipment can and does capture things your physical eyes and ears cannot see. Perhaps setting out several audio devices and placing a couple of cameras on tripods so that they record everything might be a worthwhile solution to examine. Registration stuff and photographers. Those planning large gatherings may wish to consider if you will need to create registration materials, permission slips for photography, liability waiver forms, or any other handouts. Along with name tags or wristbands, do you need to get large envelopes and prepare packets in advance for each participant? Do you need permission slips for photos to be taken of partygoers? Many events find that having a designated photographer whose job it is to take photos of everything event-wise from start to finish is extremely helpful. Some of those photographers get lucky and capture fabulous evidence in the course of doing their job. Bonfire, anyone? If your group is staying up all night, don't forget that the temperature will continue to drop until dawn. If you are planning a bonfire, you will need enough firewood for the duration of your event. Fire starting supplies, a 5-gallon bucket or 20-liter bucket of water or other water source, a long-handled shovel or pitchfork, and a designated person who will be your fire tender. Fire tenders accept full responsibility for fire maintenance and safety the entire event, start to finish, including cleanup and making sure the coals are completely cold before that person can leave. Once lit, you cannot leave your fire unattended. Your fire tender may need volunteer helpers to work in shifts. Fun stuff you might want to bring. If a good portion of your event is being held outdoors, we encourage CE5 party attendees to bring blankets to place on the ground or lounge chairs that can be moved into a reclining position for sky viewing. Encourage telescopes, binoculars, and monoculars. Recommend that attendees become familiar with prominent night sky constellations, individual star names, and other astronomy terms. Apps are available for mobile devices, and you can purchase or print helpful materials in order to identify stars in the sky. It might be a good idea for everyone to learn to identify the difference between an airplane and an orbiting satellite. Share information with each other about standard aviation craft red, green, and white lights and where they are usually located. If that dot of light you're watching in the sky moves unusually, point it out to everyone and get their eyes on it too. Should I have a, quote, do not bring, unquote, list? Events should have some common sense rules written out and made available to attendees at check-in. However, there will be some rules that your guests will need to know prior to the event. Every event planner will create their own list of what attendees should not bring. Considerations include alcohol, weapons, pets, children under 18, drugs, Ouija boards, etc. Make sure whatever you choose on this do not bring, quote unquote, list is known ahead of time by those coming to your party. Here are some recommendations based on our experiences. Drinks, anyone? Should you include alcohol at your event? We do not recommend it. You are all going to be practicing telepathy during your CE5 gathering, and you want to be able to gain control over your growing skill set, not inhibit or lose it. Remember, your attendees may be facing some pretty powerful fear issues, and it's better to have them in control of their faculties. We've put in our 2 cents. The choice is up to your group. What about bringing pets? Should you include pets in the party? Pet participation will depend entirely on the pet. If your pet is easily agitated or appears nervous, you may opt to keep them in another room or leave them at home. Some animals will cause absolutely no problem and can even alert you to the presence of visitors. For larger events, however, we recommend leaving your pets home. Service animals only. Can kids come? Should you include children at your CE5 event? Honestly, at this stage, we do not recommend the event for anyone under legal age. Parents, regardless of how much you think your child might be ready, you yourself have to experience a close encounter of the 5th kind before you can even come close to making this decision for a child. You must know that you can handle your own self first. Leave the kids home. No Ouija boards, please. While there are many simple board games that can work to help people practice their telepathy, there is one we do not want your participants to bring. A Ouija board is not a toy. A Ouija board is not a game. It is most certainly not for beginners. We do not ever endorse the use of a Ouija or spirit board as a beginner's tool in telepathy practice. Too many things can go wrong. It is a powerful tool, but does require advanced training. If your beginner students try to bring them for use, we recommend they put them out of sight or be removed from the location. What do Earth human attendees need to bring? What should you consider having your participants bring to your ET meet and greet? Well, every event will have a different list for what they suggest their attendees bring in terms of general supplies, food, beverages, equipment, phone, chargers, batteries, clothing, medicines and toiletries, bedding and chairs. We have created a general all-purpose list to get you started with ideas for your event attendees that you can copy and revise. See Appendix 2. Just to let you all know, if you come to a CE5 event we are hosting, expect to be told to leave your cell phones in your vehicle. I personally think the damn things take your attention away from the really important stuff. Use your eyes, use your ears, reach out with all your senses. You have apps your cell phone will never have. Use them. Reverend White Otter, New Mexico, USA. What if nothing happens? What do you do at your CE5 event if nothing happens? No ships show up, no unusual things occur, and there's no sighting of an extraterrestrial. What if halfway through the night it begins to thunder and lightning and then downpour? Won't all your CE5 event attendees be disappointed? Well, sure they'll be disappointed. There is never a guarantee that even if you do everything right, that you will all experience a CE5 event ever. Period. Honestly, those are the chances you and your staff and your attendees all take. From the moment they decide they would like to attend your event, everyone must have this understanding. Remind folks when they sign up for your CE5 party, and again at the beginning of your event, of the fact that the ETs may not show up. Remind them there is no guarantee of seeing a ship, experiencing the laws of physics being bent, or being visited by a person who does not call our world or our dimension home. Disappointment is understandable, but it can be moderated by everything else that your people can gain from deciding to try the proactive contact. Set the intention at the beginning of your event that there is still a lot to be gained from your CE5 gathering, even if the ETs don't make it. So, what do you do with all your attendees if you all get rained out or if things are in any way disappointing? You talk. You learn from each other's experiences. You practice your telepathy with each other and hopefully you see some improvement in your skills. You get a chance to find your tribe, the people who understand and accept you for who you are, strange experiences, weird interests and all. You have fun. You meet people. Make sure you make backup plans in case the weather turns bad for any reason. If rain chases you all indoors or into tents, you want to have things that everyone can still do. All your hopeful CE5 attendees will naturally have some frustration if nothing happens, or if your event is a wash. But that doesn't mean that the party was a waste of people's time. Even if the ETs do not show up, do everything you can to help folks have a great event and still say at the end, let's get together and try this one more time. We hope this isn't the case for you. We hope you will have some great success at your CE5 event. The bottom line is to be aware that you are trying to create a right-minded event to introduce Earth human people to Star Nation people and vice versa. Put yourself in their shoes. If you were a visitor meeting we Earth humans for the first time, how would you want to be invited to your first meet and greet? Your CE5 event participants, Star Nation as well as Earth human, are all practicing new skills and overcoming their anxiety of the unknown. Don't forget, Star Nation people coming to see you have fears too. Try to be patient and understanding of everyone's emotions, whether you have Star Nation visitors or not. Be gracious. Do what you can to put everyone at ease at your event, whether they are Earth human or from somewhere else. Why does life exist? Because consciousness seeks a beautiful expression. Why does telepathy exist? Because consciousness seeks to share its life. Attendee from Pontel, Sandia Station, New Mexico, USA. Official first contact isn't about tech. It's about emotions, both yours and ours. Tilcom from Pontel, Sandia Station, New Mexico, USA. That's the end of Chapter 1 of Inviting E.T. by Sue Walker and Reverend White Otter. This is Sue Walker, and until next time, take care.